Welcome back, Anshuman. Welcome to Bhai Waugh. How are you doing?
All good, man.
All good, all good. All set for the test match, the second one?
I know. Looking forward to what the final playing 11 is going to be.
Yeah, it's going to be a tricky decision for India. We'll talk about that.
Yep.
But the topic today is coming from what happened between the Australia and West Indies test that happened.
Yep.
And there was an official complaint that went from Darren Sammy, their coach, about the state of umpiring. In fact, they did get some umpiring howlers.
Yeah.
Especially in the first innings.
Yeah.
So I think the interesting thing was, I think as Anshuman put it the other day when we were discussing this, you said, let's do the good, the bad, and the ugly of umpiring.
Yeah.
So over to you. What do you think about umpires generally?
Actually, before we start off, here's a bit of trivia for you.
Oh,
let's see if you can get this. Since you're an avid quizzer.
Yeah.
The first mention of umpiring in cricket comes from a Latin poem, which is pronounced in Chartamen Pillai. I don't know if I got the pronunciation right there.
Okay.
Who wrote this poem?
Oh, absolutely.
No, I was just reading up. So
मेरे बाप दादा जमाने का मेरे बाप के बाप के बाप के बाप के जमाने का होगा पता नहीं मुझे. No idea.
I was just reading about when umpiring all started and the first written mention of umpiring in a match is in this poem written by a gentleman called William Goldwyn.
Oh, okay. What was that?
As far back as 1706.
1706. Wow.
Yeah, that's right.
I had a feeling George Lucas came up with the term.
George Lucas.
Umpire strikes back. So, like 1980s. Okay, but cricket is 100 years older than that. So obviously, 1706. Wow. that era as well. Not bad.
Exactly.
Interesting. But okay, so the other trivia, do you know this guy? Have you heard of this guy called Lumpy Stevens?
Name is familiar, but I can't.
You know what was his innovation to cricket?
What was it?
This was asked as a 40-pointer in one of those colours cricket quizzes. He invented the middle stump.
Oh, okay.
So cricket initially was played only with the off and the leg stump.
Okay.
And then the ball was passing through, and then he didn't know what to do. So he said, why don't we have another stump in the middle? So
Bhai Waugh,
so Lumpy Stevens, I remember that name. Yeah. All right, so great. So since we're talking about umpiring, and now we know that it's more than 300 years old. So obviously howlers then and howlers today.
Yeah.
So let's do the good, bad, the ugly. Let's start probably with the good first, or you want to go to the bad or the ugly? What do you want?
Let's just go in random order. Let's just talk about umpires.
Okay, so
what are
your memories of who were the first umpires you heard of when you playing or you started following cricket?
The first umpires who come to mind, of course, there's a deadly duo from Pakistan, Khizr Hiyat and Shakur Rana.
Yeah.
As a cricket watcher, there was a lot of commentary around them itself. In fact, I think Ravi Shastri in one of his interviews mentioned that playing against Pakistan in the 80s was as though they had two additional unplayable pace bowlers on their side. So it was difficult enough to face the likes of Imran and Sarfaraz.
Right.
And you had Khizr Hiyat and Shakur Rana.
Right.
Even tougher.
So Shakur Rana obviously became unpopular because of Mike Gatting later.
Yeah.
We will come to that in any case when we do the ugly part.
Yeah. In fact, Shakur Rana has gotten written apologies from the maximum number of cricket captains.
Wow.
Because it seems like throughout his career he was getting into riffs with opposing players and captains, and he would just threaten to walk off.
Amazing.
In fact, the 87 instance against Mike Gatting, the British High Commission actually had to intervene to diffuse the situation. It seems after retiring, he made quite a living speaking about all his controversies while he was umpiring.
Oh, they're quite an interesting character overall.
Absolutely.
My first memory of umpires is actually in Marathi, to be honest. Because my dad used to listen to the radio before we got TV at home.
Yeah.
And the commentary used to be in Marathi in those days.
Yeah.
And I think one of the most well-known umpires at that time was a guy called Kotaskar.
Yeah.
And I think he was in the era of Pilu Reporter and all these guys.
Yeah.
And typically the Marathi commentary, and I'll say it aloud for people who follow Marathi, it would be like, Yashti Rakshakane ball पकडलं आणि फलंदाजाने मारलं आणि गोलंदाज. So golandas is a bowler, falandaz is the batsman, and Yashti Rakshak is the wicketkeeper.
Okay.
So I learned these very heavy terms at a young age. Later I came to know, okay, it's just a very wicketkeeper, batsman, and a bowler.
What Rakshak?
Yashti Rakshak. So Yashti is the stumps.
Yashti, okay.
And Rakshak is somebody who protects it, right? So
Okay.
Marathi has these weird words, so to make the simple words rather exotic. Yeah, great. I mean, yeah. So, if you go to the good umpires, let's start with the good umpires, right? So, over the years, any umpires you held in esteem, who you felt their decisions were fairly balanced, some good examples of maybe umpires who adjudicated well.
Yeah. See, now there is a lot more data which is available. So, there are some very clear metrics that you can go by to arrive at who is a good umpire and who is not. So, of course, reputation and respect on field would be one, but you can also use criteria like how many of their decisions are overturned by DRS.
Right.
Which is a very clear scientific metric in place.
Correct.
But this is only as far as this century is concerned.
Right.
There were umpires earlier. Take for example Dickie Bird. You think of fair, honest, fantastic umpires. His name is perhaps the first which comes to mind.
Correct.
There was an Indian umpire called Swarup Kishan.
Oh yes, of course, I remember Swarup Kishan.
No one would challenge his decisions. He was a commanding personality.
I think for some reason, physically he was almost similar to David Shepherd, right? There was this likeness.
Yeah, absolutely. He was slightly portly.
Yeah.
And then apart from that, he used to get his bicycle to the cricket ground and he would cycle around on the bicycle. So he was a bit of a character for the crowds.
I mean, he stayed out of a PG Woodhouse novel almost.
Precisely.
Fantastic.
Swarup Kishan, Dickie Bird we spoke about.
David Shepherd, of course, with the Nelson and the double Nelson.
Precisely. So, David Shepherd is interesting because, the ICC trophy for the best umpire is called the David Shepherd Award.
Oh, I didn't know this. That's such a lovely trivia. Okay.
So, if there is the award named after David Shepherd, I'm guessing that he would perhaps be the best umpire.
Absolutely.
Of all time.
Absolutely, no doubt about it. Right. Yeah, and he was held in high esteem. I think everyone who basically played against him. How would you rate? I mean, in Indian umpires, for example, any names that obviously you mentioned Swarup Kishan. Anyone else? I think maybe Venkat Raghavan.
Venkat Raghavan definitely. Yeah.
Right. I think he was. Right. I think
because of his player credentials, because of the fact that he was captain of India, I don't think anyone could have messed around with him on the ground.
Correct. I think he brought that same intelligence he did from his engineering to his cricket to his umpiring, right? In that sense, yeah. What about globally, any umpires who you sort of admired? The newer ones, maybe. For example, I don't think he was a very great umpire, but there was something about about the way he conducted himself, which was Rudy Kurtzen. Especially that way he put his hand up to the death rattle
or something,
Yeah, correct. So I quite I think he was quite balanced, but then I don't think he was a good umpire that way.
No, he was quite good actually.
Right.
From that time, which is perhaps the early 2000s to early 2010s. Right. The names which stand out, the good names which stand out are Rudy Kurtzen, Simon Toffel.
Oh yeah, Simon Toffel, of course. Yes. Correct.
That way. In fact, on recent umpires, again, Simon Toffel is up there. Ray Illingworth.
Oh yeah.
Is also quite good. The thing about umpires is that we as spectators, as fans, get to know about them or talk about them only when there is a controversy.
True.
Otherwise, Cap is just doing his job,
True. Very
so you don't really get a reward for doing your job well.
Yeah, but the thing is, I think that's precisely what Sammy, I think, mentioned, saying that, that there is no recrimination for a bad umpiring decision.
Yeah.
I mean, apart from the fact that maybe you might get pulled out of the elite list over a period of time, because captains do have notes against the umpire as well, right? For and against.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, there are a lot of controversial decisions that have happened over the years.
Yeah.
And to a large extent, they have probably changed the course of the match or the tournament itself at times. I'll come to the tournament part later. What about somebody like Billy Bowden? Did you enjoy watching him umpire? I mean, he was a showman.
Yeah, again, I think he was a good umpire, but why he sticks is because of the fact that he was such a character on field.
Correct.
With his gestures and the crooked finger.
Correct. True. Right. Okay, so we've sort of established that the good umpires were generally like the two Englishmen, Dickie Bird and David Shepherd, maybe to a certain extent Venkat Raghavan of the lot. What about the bad umpires? That's the tricky one, right?
I think we opened with the bad umpires.
Oh, did we? No.
Yeah, we spoke about Shakur and Kedar Riyad.
Oh, well, I thought that would be more the ugly, right? At least in terms of the gatting instrument.
Again, the person who comes to mind is umpire Steve Bucknor.
Oh, yeah.
Who got quite a bit of it wrong towards the later part of his career.
Right.
Especially the 2003 series that India played against Australia.
The
2008 series. It was down to his bad umpiring that India lost those matches.
Correct.
A lot has been spoken about it. A lot has been written about it. But then at the same time, Steve Bucknor officiated in, I think, 128 test matches.
Yeah, quite a lot.
That's the maximum by any umpire.
True.
So, in those 128 test matches, God knows how many decisions he would have taken.
Yeah.
But he gets singled out for the 8 or 10 really bad ones.
True. I think the longevity issue is your memory is always about, if you work long enough in the field, you're bound to have some howlers, and then you get remembered for that.
Yeah.
There was he did have issues. He did mention somewhere that he was he was forgetting things towards the end of his career. Age was catching up to him.
Okay.
To a certain extent, right. What about somebody like, say, Darrell Hare? I mean, very controversial again.
Darrell Hare, again, was a respected umpire till the time that he called Muralidharan chucking.
Right.
Perhaps, the magnanimity of that decision lends to that controversy.
Yeah, true. There's this interesting thing, right? So everyone thinks, and for those who don't know, Muralidharan was often accused of chucking.
Yeah.
Because of his bent arm, right? His flex. But he was allowed, the ICC did change rules to make that flex happen. But he was officially called for chucking in one game, which was Darrell Hare. But there was another umpire, surprisingly, who called him out first. Who was that? Any idea?
Oh, yes. Oh, hell. Why don't I remember this? The name slips me.
Yeah, so the guy was called Ross Emerson.
Ross Emerson, yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And that was actually the bigger incident, because that's the incident where Arjuna Ranatunga walked up to Emerson and they both wagged their fingers at each other. And there was a huge blowout that happened, and Ranatunga almost, I think he did take the team off the field as well. So, yeah, it started from Emerson, and then I think they were watching Muralidharan throughout that series. And it culminated into Darrell Hare and officially calling him out in that game.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Aussies are always sort of, you think the Aussie umpires generally tend to be a little bit on the, let's say, tricky side. I wouldn't put any other word there. You can call me whatever you want. What about the ugly? Were there any incidents which stuck to you, which were really ugly? In terms of how they went about on the cricket field. Everything was ugly, no doubt about it.
Let's come back to Darrell Hare as such.
Okay, cool. Fantastic.
Because like he called Muralitharan, he no-balled Muralitharan a total of 7 times in 3 overs.
Yeah, quite a few times. Yes.
Yeah. Like that's not the normal protocol.
Right.
Like firstly, like he was the umpire at the bowler's end, so he had no business calling those no balls.
Right.
It should have been the square leg umpire who should have.
Correct.
And the protocol is that if a bowler is suspected of chucking, that needs to be reported to the match referee. So like the no ball itself, was like a very, very, very controversial call there.
Correct. Right. I mean, you can see the thing is at the end of the day, the rules are such that the rules keep changing at the end of the day. So I think when that particular incident happened, I'm not sure I think Bhai was following the protocol. But it was just not in the spirit of the game, as they put it, right? I mean, there's a spirit of the game for the umpires as well. Probably it went into those grey areas, and we hadn't seen anything like it, right? It came across as a surprise. Again, for me, like I think the ugliest, and I'm going to particularly categorize this in ugly because I think it changed the whole course of the game. It was a bad decision, but it was ugly because it was just, I think, completely uncalled for. Was the Dharmasena incident in the World Cup.
Yeah. I was thinking of that too. Yeah.
I mean, that was completely like crazy.
Yeah.
I think New Zealand were robbed of the World Cup.
Okay.
Right. And to come, I mean, it was already a very tight game, and you had, I think Trent Bowl, dropped that catch at the boundary, which would have sealed the game. Then it went into the super over. Before it went into the super over, the last ball of the game.
Yeah.
Right? So I think he's had again a history of bad decisions, but this I think was a really ugly decision because
absolutely.
It was such a key, and New Zealand appealed at that point in time.
Yeah.
I mean, all he had to do was sort of collect his wits and make the decision, but couldn't.
And that was a case of very bad match awareness.
Yeah, correct. So I mean, that was really a World Cup robbed event.
Yeah.
Of course, New Zealand luckily came back and won the Test championship, but World Cup is a World Cup, I think.
Absolutely. Like the gods and Dharmasena clearly conspired in favor of England on that occasion. And Dharmasena, of course, is also known for his famous selfies.
Oh yeah,
out of a match, which kind of go on to predict the match outcome. Whosoever takes a selfie with losers.
Right. No, I mean, I think there was an era, right, where before the era of neutral umpires, where you had umpires from the same countries, where generally the feeling was if you go to Pakistan, you'll get bad decisions. If you go to Sri Lanka, you'll probably get bad decisions. A lot of the Western nations like England and Australia would always criticize Indian umpires, Pakistani umpires. But it came back to bite them in their own foot as well, right? With their own umpires. Let's go back to Shakur Rana. Do you remember the catching incident?
Oh yes, very clearly.
Yeah. Okay. What about it?
Like I remember the finger wagging and the choice expletives which were exchanged between the two of them, which were caught on stump mic.
Right.
And Shakur Rana later on said that like there is no way this guy can talk to me like this. In our country, we can kill people for such as this. So
it's so odd that when you think of Gatting, again, like I think he had his nose blown out by a Malcolm Marshall bouncer. In fact, a piece of his nose was stuck on the ball when Marshall picked it up. Then you had the Shakur Rana. It's the ball of the century from Vaughan.
Exactly.
And I was just reading last week about cricketers and food. Apparently, when somebody said, I think it's Ian Botham who said that if that was a pork pie being thrown at him, he wouldn't have let it go through. So Gatting was a very interesting character.
Also, like there was that incident with the barmaid for which he was.
Oh yes. But that, I think that was proved to be incorrect. I think a lot of people did vouch that he did not do it because I think one of his roommates was with him at that point. What about Vikram Raju, umpire Vikram Raju?
Vikram Raju is neither good, bad, nor ugly. He's just sad.
Why do you say that?
No, because just for context, Vikram Raju was the umpire who declared Maninder Singh out LBW to Greg Matthews in the tight test in Chennai. India needed 1 run to win. Maninder was on strike and he was given out as such. he was doing what he thought was right. Like today, he stands by his decision at that point of time. Like, of course, like Maninder Singh and Shastri have spoken very vociferously about that, and like Shastri does not mince his words. So, repeated instances, like he's.
But did you see that test? I did watch the test.
Oh yeah, absolutely, I saw that test.
Did you think he was out or not out?
Sorry.
Did you think he was out or not out?
See, Maninder claimed that he nicked the ball.
The cameras weren't very good at that time.
Cameras, it was.
It looked plumb to the eye, but of course, if there was a little bit of a nick, then there was obviously no Snicko at that time, no technology at that time to help us. Very grainy pictures again.
Yeah.
So obviously, it's one versus the other, right? At that stage.
Yeah.
I think probably Maninder might have been extremely disappointed as well. You never know. Sometimes you think you nicked it, you may not nick it. So let's give Raju the benefit of doubt on that. As they say, it's gone. It's gone.
Yeah.
But at least, we had another tight test because of that. So
exactly.
It was an interesting.
You remember who the umpire at square leg was?
Oh, that's a good question. Vikram Raju was umpiring on the square leg. I have no clue. I don't remember.
Dhotiwala.
Oh, P.D. Dhotiwala, yes.
Dara Dhotiwala.
Dara Dhotiwala, yes, correct.
And like Dhotiwala has got a very unique achievement.
What is that?
We know of bowlers who've taken a wicket on the first ball of their debut. We know of batsmen who hit boundaries or sixes on the first ball of their debuts. Dhotiwala, the first guy who gave a person LBW out on the first ball of his debut.
What a fabulous piece of trivia that is. So he was a wicket taker debutant with umpire.
Exactly.
Was it that or was his forehead itching maybe?
Well,
business.
Mohsin Khan had to walk back.
Mohsin Khan, poor thing. He walked back and got married to Reena Roy. So okay, great. Current set of umpires, anyone you like, anyone you think is sort of, we don't look at umpires as, they're not showbiz.
Yeah.
Maybe David Shepherd was with that unique thing he used to do with his with that Nelson and the double Nelson.
Yeah.
To an extent, Billy Bowden was a little bit of a showman.
Yeah.
These days, you tend to have umpires being quite quick with their decisions because I think everything is played in time. There are penalties for over rates.
Yeah.
There is a third umpire, of course, they can go back to.
Yeah.
Lesser of these characters today, like no Aleem Dars anymore, no Shakur Ranas anymore. Aleem Dar is another guy we didn't discuss. He's another controversial character.
Yeah.
Anyone of the current lot who you feel are somebody who you think are level-headed or interesting?
There are a lot of umpires now, and like especially because of all the leagues, especially IPL as such. Like one guy who the camera seems to love is Nitin Menon.
Oh yes, of course, yes.
Like I don't know whether that's a good thing or a bad thing, but then he's supposed to be quite a clean character, uncontroversial,
right.
Gets most of his decisions right. Another gentleman whom
Paul Rifle is decent.
Yeah, Paul Rifle is decent.
I think Richard Kettleborough is decent.
Yeah, Richard Kettleborough too.
Right.
I quite liked Anil Chaudhary also.
Oh yes, correct. He's fairly good as well.
Yeah.
Right. So what do you think is going to happen with cricket? I mean, do you think, and this is just a thing to end the show with, so with so much technology out there, right? I mean, there's literally technology maxing itself out with AI coming in. Do you ever foresee a time when there won't be any umpires on field?
No, you'll need umpires on field because you need unbiased third parties present to temper down awkward situations.
Let's debate that a little more. So I'm saying that what's an umpire doing right now, right? He's obviously looking at the no ball. He's looking at an LBW. He's looking at a caught behind or a catch or whatever.
Yeah.
He's basically counting the number of balls to say that let's get the over done with, right?
Yeah.
But all these four are already technically being done by the third umpire.
No, everything.
By technology.
Wherever there is decision making to be involved,
correct.
That can be, automated. There can be a AI which can do that.
Right.
But then, like, how do you take into account things like sledging? Yeah. Or like, someone behaving badly. You need someone on the ground to enforce.
Yeah, correct. I think just that voice and the face of authority gets people to get things done properly, correct?
Exactly.
Right. But it'll be interesting to see if ever, I mean, if ever they were to try a game without umpires, how it would work. I'm just curious to know, because I think it can be done. It's just that, like you're saying, I think it'll take a vital part of the game away from the game.
Let's look at this way. Like, as far as right now, the umpire is a judge and, let's say, a constable on the ground. Yeah. So as far as the judge part of it is concerned, that can perhaps be taken over by technology. But as far as the constable duties are concerned, you will definitely need someone on ground.
No, yeah, that's true. That's very true. But my favorite umpire of all time is Satish Shah.
Satish Shah, which movie was he in? Huh?
Malamal.
Malamal, yeah, that's right.
He was modeled on Dhutiwala and who's the other guy? Shepherd. So, yeah.
Malamal. Okay. What was that film with Nasiruddin Shah?
That was.
Was it Malamal?
That was Malamal.
There was some film in which Nasiruddin Shah is a ghost.
Oh, yeah. That is the Shah Rukh Khan one, no? Where Shah Rukh Khan and Urmila Matondkar and...
Yeah, there's a cricket match in that also.
Yes, there's a cricket match in that in which he goes and helps as a ghost.
Exactly.
I forgot the name of that film. I'll put the poster here because we forgot about it.
Yeah.
But there'll be a lot of these cricket films, no? Malamal was there, Awal Number was there.
Yeah.
Awal Number, I'm surprised that Devanand didn't play the umpire as well.
I know. He played everything else.
Yeah, maybe umpiring as well. Anyway, on that note, great episode. We'll put some music of Good, Bad, the Ugly at the end.
No, before we end, I have a question for you again.
It's good you're putting your finger up, man. You look like an umpire.
Precisely. This finger.
The other one.
Okay, so what's the claim to fame of George Coulthard and Jim Phillips?
Probably the first umpires in Tests.
Yeah, that's correct.
Yeah, I mean, wouldn't have been a random question, so
precisely.
Wouldn't have known the names, but it's a very educated guess there.
Exactly.
Yeah, but was it in the very first test, the 18?
They officiated in the first test between Australia and England.
Right.
Whenever in 1877, 76, whenever.
1877. Yeah, but who were the first two cricket playing nations officially?
USA and England.
USA and Canada.
USA and Canada, that's right.
Yeah, correct. So remember this as well, guys. USA and Canada were actually played the first test. Or not first cricket match, let's put it that way. Right, okay, it's fantastic. So I think in the spirit of umpiring, you can use your finger, go and click a like, and then come back and then go and click and subscribe. We'll meet again on Bhai Waugh. Anshuman, thank you again for your time. And let's get